Hi, you are listening to Rocklaz Radio.
A podcast discussing inspiring personalities and interesting things. This is your host, Tanmay Shah.
Tanmay is an India-based NFT artist and an entrepreneur with diverse business experience.
This podcast is self-sponsored.
The best way to support this show is to buy his art, NFTs. You can also become his patron. Kindly share this episode on socials and with your friends.
Hello everybody, welcome to another episode of Rocklaz Radio. Today we have a very interesting episode with a very interesting person. We have with us Mr. Arun Benty. He is the founder of Fandefi, and he's bringing in so many innovations in Web3 and blockchain. I'm so excited for this. Let us dive in. So, Arun, can you please introduce yourself and a bit about your background for the audience?
Sure, Tanmay. Thank you so much, for having me here. My name is Arun Benty. I am the co-founder at Fandefi. Uh, Fandefi is a crowdfunding platform, a Web3 crowdfunding platform. I've been in the technology space for over 2 decades. Started off in the year 2000 with, when I co-founded a software services firm. It's still running. We're still very much active. And along the way, I've been involved with a lot of startups around the world. And with Web3, the last 3 years, I've been sort of involved in setting up a team and exploring some opportunities in the Web3 ecosystem. So that's a brief introduction to who I am.
So, what firm did you mention 2 decades ago?
So the company is called Trellises.
Mhm.
So we Trellises.net. We are a but you could call us a boutique software consultancy. So we provide specialized development services to startups around the world. Okay, so you could say we are kind of like a CTO on hire. So founders come
Oh,
to us with a business idea, and we help them set up a team and bring their product, to life. There are different stages to a product, and we sort of help them through that entire life cycle. We even help them, get like during the process of like building a product. You're building to a specific audience. Maybe you're building it to raise venture funding. Finding product market fit, marketing, sales. So the whole cycle, right? So it's a fairly complex process, and we sort of help founders through all of those functions when it comes to taking an idea and making it reality, right? So there are many things to do. So
very interesting.
we help do that.
So you started in Web3 3 years ago, and how did the idea for FanDeFi come? What is FanDeFi in brief first?
Yeah. Absolutely. So a little bit of background, right? So we were involved with having been in the tech space for a long time. We when we first heard of Bitcoin, and back in I think 2013, we set up some rigs in our office, and we even mined some Bitcoin, and lost everything in the Mount Cox debacle. It was a learning experience, in the sense, like, we thought this was a very interesting concept, but nothing else came out of it, right? It was still like a very distant concept, right? So we left that in 2013 and never went back to it. We got busy with lots of other things. Um, in 2017, I think, there's a lot of interest in Ethereum. So it was still very academic, just reading about it and trying to figure out what's happening in the blockchain space. Um, we did a little bit of consulting for a blockchain company back then, and I think it was only in, say, about 2018 and 2019 that things started really moving in the blockchain space and cryptocurrencies, right? So started dabbling with just setting up a wallet and, like, experimenting with different coins, just like anybody would do. Not me as much, but my co-founder was more involved in it, and he was the one who kept pushing me. You got to check into this. You have to see what this is. There is something really amazing happening. I've always been a skeptic in these things. Okay, so I was skeptical for the longest period of time. I just couldn't get my head around the concept. But one thing that piqued my interest was, some of the smartest people I knew were were moving towards this, this platform, and generally towards blockchain and Web3. So I was like, okay, I think there must be something more to this. I really need to sit down and understand it, right? So went down to really reading up about economics and, society. And one of the things about cryptocurrency and blockchain is it's not a technology, okay? It's something that sort of combines technology, society, psychology, and it's a very multidisciplinary sort of domain, right? And that was very interesting. I thought there's just so much more to this. And I think I would say the most part of 2019, I was just putting my head down, reading different books, going down to the basics, right, and then trying to figure out what is going on in the space. Um, NFTs was still very, very new. Very few people were talking about it. And then once NFTs came into the picture, it really opened a completely new idea. Okay, I was still very intrigued by the concept. What is it? What is a digital asset? Okay, what does it mean? Okay, to for something to be digitally scarce. Um, if you think about it, it's very difficult for someone who's not in the space to get an idea. And I think many people even in the space struggle to understand what do we mean by a digital asset, right? So I it took me a long time to really get my head around what it truly means. But once we got this understanding about how scarcity in a digital asset can be useful, and one of the things that really caught my attention was, you know the NFT is basically a smart contract that automatically distributes royalty, right? That was fascinating. The reason why that was fascinating was, one of the startups that I've been involved with for over a decade is in the book publishing business, right? And we basically build software that helps you sell ebooks and audiobooks and helps publishers monetize their, catalog. And royalty is a big part of this industry when you're working with authors and publishers and things like that. And I had a sort of a front side view of how opaque the system is, right? You look at somebody who's creating something like writing a book, and then you go to a publisher who has a lot of leverage, and then you get a contract, and then you write a book, and then your book sells, and then if you actually sit down and read author contracts, you'll be shocked, right? I mean, they get like 10% of every book sale that happens, right? It's like a tiny sliver of money that you make, and then the majority of that is actually made by the publisher, right? And again, there's so much of what do you call it, there's no transparency in this. Okay, uh, you just have to trust that the publisher says this is it. These are the sales. Or the retailer, would say that these many ebooks are sold, and you just trust some of these systems. And then there's so much of inefficiency in the way that value moves from me as a fan who reads your book to you as an author. By the time you get that check in your hand, it almost feels to the author that it's not worth it, right? So when I looked at, that's one of the reasons why authors typically publish not to make money. Okay, authors publish books for vanity. It's called vanity publishing, right? For a reason, right? You become famous because you're a published author now. That's it. So and when you look at NFTs, that sort of really brought things into perspective for me, saying when a transaction happens, the smart contract kicks in and the royalty gets distributed to that wallet, right? Which with the original creator of that NFT. So and this is not a new concept. There are many people who are working on this for a long time, in music and stuff like that. NFTs is it's been around for a few years now. So when I sort of thought about NFTs and this whole concept of royalties, what we thought about is how can this empower creators? Okay, how can NFTs empower creators, no matter who you are? Of course, everyone looks at NFTs as art. Okay, I never looked at like it from that perspective. An NFT is basically an entry on the blockchain that points to something. Okay, that something could be a JPEG file, which is an artwork. It could be like a MP3 file, which is music, MP4, which is a movie, could be a document, which is like a book. It doesn't matter, right? So what matters is that there is provenance and there's like this immutable record that says that me, I have created this and I've minted it. That's it. Okay, so in a base level, it's very very simple. It's a very simple concept. So we were like, okay, how can we use this concept to help creators, fund their creative journey? Okay, so that was really what the idea was. Because if you look at somebody who's a creator, let's say an author, I'm just using the perspective which I had, trained my mind around. I go to a publisher, you get a publishing deal, okay, and then you get some sort of an advance payment, okay, to write the book, right? And you spend time sort of sitting and writing the book. But you ask anyone if you can live life as an author, it's impossible. It's very difficult, okay? So it doesn't work like that. Everyone has a day job and you do something. You can apply the same concept to all sorts of creative fields, like whether it's music or like any of the other arts that you talk about. Funding or putting food on the table is a critical aspect, right? And if you look at NFTs, it has this very interesting concept where you can apply it to create a sort of a revenue stream for someone who's an artist. Okay, that's really what it is. Because once that smart contract is written, every time that transaction happens, you're getting a percentage of the royalties. Okay, and that's fantastic. So we took all of these base layer concepts and built it into Fandefi, where you as an artist can come in, set up a profile, tell your story, and then mint this multi-edition NFT, wherein even if I don't know what your art is, it could be a book, it could be music, or it could be like a piece of art, it doesn't matter. I can own a piece of your future work. That's kind of how it works, right? So it's almost like creating a share certificate for yourself as an artist and then doing an IPO. So imagine a Tanmay IPO, right? Now, what you're doing is also creative, right? So think about it from a revenue stream point of view, right? So imagine you put out a multi-edition NFT on Fandefi saying this is Tanmay's, blockbuster podcast, early edition NFT, right? And let's say each edition of that NFT gives 1% ownership of something in the future, right? And I could like buy maybe five of those NFTs. I get 5% of everything that you do in the future, right? So it's kind of how it works, right? Now, yeah, it's kind of like doing an IPO, okay, but for your fans, okay, for your followers, and that's kind of how it works. And because everything is as an NFT, now what I have from you would be a collectible. It will have secondary value. It has and just by holding it, I have means to earn some revenue out of it. Because let's say you do another NFT drop or some sort of a mechanism around NFTs, every revenue that comes out of that secondary sales, the primary or secondary sales, because I hold this backer token, which is like a special kind of an NFT, I get a little bit of the returns, from you. It's kind of how it works. Okay, so that was really the core idea behind setting up Fantify.
Very interesting. The point you mentioned about book, it is very recent and close to me because my younger brother has written a book, uh, and just 10%. That is so funny. They writing spending so much time writing the book, and they just get 10% out of it. And the critical aspect is they just have to accept what the publisher says, right? These many books were sold or not sold. So you have written the software in the background. So how, is that tweakable, or it's just one way thing, right? How does an artist know that how many book are actually sold, or he can't even file a case, right? Or how would that work?
See, typically what happens is you have to look at the leverage. Okay, who has leverage? Okay, so if you look at that, look at it from that perspective, it's the uh, it's the publisher that who has the leverage. Okay, they are the ones who who control the information. Okay, in any system, whoever controls the information has leverage. Okay, so because of that. They are the ones who can figure out they can see the author has little or no control over this. Okay, you need to get to a position where you have leverage. Look, you become like the most popular author. Okay, you become like a J.K. Rowling, then you don't need the publisher, right? Okay, you become the publisher. Okay, so it all depends on the leverage that you have, right? What NFTs and blockchain does is it puts the information on chain for everyone to see. So now you have leverage now, okay, because you have the information, right? And I think that's kind of the way to think about it. The more data that's out there on chain, the more control you have as a individual creator, and that's kind of how it works. But yeah, in the publishing industry or in any other industry, even in music, for instance, uh, if Spotify says that these are the streams that you've got, that's it. What are you going to do about it, right? There's no way you can verify.
Verify it, right? Verification is possible in Web3, and it gives that leverage to the artist, to the
Yes,
system. The trust is there on the system. So,
exactly.
understanding technically, fans can support the artist and get royalties from the further sale of the artist,
Yes.
of his music, of his artwork, his book, or whatever they are doing, even a podcast or YouTube channel. So how does that get into the system? Because we are just using Ethereum right now. Or are you on other chains also? Even if you are okay, 5 10 chains, how does that? Uh, then the leverage is the artist, right? Okay, I've
Yeah.
published a video on YouTube. I've made so much on YouTube, and now I need to give that to the other people. So how does Fandify manage this?
Great question. Okay, so if you look at DeFi, right? In decentralized finance, everything is on chain. The smart contracts are visible for everyone to see, and then the transactions all happen in the digital sphere. It's not the same for, let's say, music. Okay, so let's talk about music itself. So let's say you set up a Fandify project, and then people buy your backer token, and then they own some percentage. Now let's say your revenue comes from your YouTube streams, it comes from real world events like live shows, it comes from all sorts of, like, external factors, right? But what happens in the blockchain is that there is proof that so many people supported you by paying you so much money, okay? And this is the record. It says that this is how the setup was. This is the promise that you made. This is what you will give back, right? And if you don't follow up with your smart contract, there is also something called a social contract. You have a social contract with your fans, and that is also on chain, right? So maybe you made some revenue on, like, a live show, and let's say on your project you said, for all my live shows, 10% or 20% of everything I make, I'm going to give it to my fans, right? Yes, you could say I made less in my live show, fine, okay, or I made more or whatever, right? Maybe that is still opaque today, but you still need to pay something back to your fans. And again, like, fans are not like financial, they're not like financial analysts, right? They are following you and supporting you because they want to see you succeed. And if they see you succeed, they also succeed in many different ways. Okay. And you, as a true, I think artists in the future, their leverage is with their fan base. They will do everything they can to support their fans, right? It's almost like a symbiotic relationship. Okay. So I think when we talk about trustless systems, right? The mechanisms are there, But a lot of business and a lot of things that we do also works on a trust basis as well. Okay, not everything can be trustless. At least we've not reached that position where we can audit every single thing. But for every artist or creator knows that they need the support of their fans, and it's so crucial for them to maintain that fan base. What we feel and believe in is like there are the tools that are available today to truly empower your fans are not there. If I spend all my time building a Twitter audience or an Instagram audience or followers or Facebook audience, I don't own them, right? These platforms own them. Tomorrow I could get deplatformed, but it's a single click of a button. I actually don't own anything. But if you use NFTs, me as an artist have complete one-on-one control or connection with my fan base, and no other. The power to be associated with me or not is in the hands of the fans and nobody else, no platform. That's really what the true power is.
Hmm. Very interesting. So I'll just highlight once again that for all the creators, all the artists, this is a very innovative way to uh, be have your audience, have your fans on your journey from now and beyond till you progress until all the projects you do. So, Arun, there's another thing which is popular with creators, which is called Patreon. So many YouTubers use that. They have the links there.
Yeah,
It's a basically monthly subscription kind of thing where they will give you a shout out in their videos, or they will give you some bonus clips, or if there's some technical video creator, they'll have some specific videos that are just meant for the audience who are in the Patreon list. So how is Fandify similar and different to Patreon or Buy Me Coffee? There's a coffee something about
yeah.
there. You can buy a cup of coffee to your the artist that you support or the creator that you support.
Absolutely. Great question. So I think, I think a lot of what Fantify wanted to or is planning on doing is to do what Patreon is doing, but without this tag that that creators and artists are like sort of begging for funds, okay, or for support. Patreon literally feels like that. So I'll tell you what the big problem with Patreon is. You have your subscribers. Let's take YouTube as a classic example. So you'll have your YouTube subscribers, and then many YouTube subscribers have an option to upsell some additional special content if you're a Patreon subscriber, right? So you have free content that you get some subscribers, and then you have some premium subscribers who pay you a small fee. This fee could be like $5 a month or $10 a month or something like that, right? And that's kind of how Patreon works. Now, the subscription model, what it does is that yes, it gives you some sort of a steady monthly income, right, to a lot of these creators, but it also puts an extreme amount of strain on creators to be constantly pushing out stuff every month. Okay, you're constantly there's a lot of burnout among creators, okay, because you have to constantly feed your audience, okay, because they're paying you every month. They expect, okay, this month I'm paying you $5. Where's my article? Where's my special video? Where's this? Where is that? So there is it is it's an extremely stressful sort of a ecosystem, right? When you're working in a subscription model, and there have been lots of documented cases where it feels like you're constantly working all the time for your free channel, but you have to work 10 times harder to make sure that your Patreon subscriber base stays there, and there's no churn and people don't unsubscribe because they all want to know what is it for me because I'm a special Patreon subscriber, right? You take the same model, okay, and you flip it around and say, okay, now instead of a Patreon subscription, I'm going to mint some limited edition backer tokens that you can hold, and you can use this as a ticket for my special content, right? You can sell it in the secondary market, okay, as a collectible. There's so many ways in which you can look at this digital asset now. It's a one-time thing, okay, or maybe I have different editions, or maybe I have different seasons, right? But these are scarce digital assets that you can roll out with a small number, right? Not unlimited, right? So there's a small number that you can roll out. And if you have a fan base that is really interested in your future, they buy it, okay, and they can hold it as an investment, right? Or they can trade it in the secondary market, and you keep continuing to get some sort of these revenue. So it's more like the best way to think about this is, instead of me paying you every month on Patreon, okay, I will I will buy this digital asset of yours for a one-time fee with the expectation that tomorrow this becomes an asset that I can sell for a 10x. It's a speculative asset because it's digital and it's scarce. Okay, that's where NFTs is a fundamentally different way of thinking about the same Patreon model. So you as a creator now can have the space to just concentrate on your craft. So you have these funding cycles, right? Maybe you do a NFT drop every year, and then that funds you for the entire year, right?
Yeah.
So that you can really, concentrate on your craft. Of course, there could be many instances where someone does this and they make some money and they just becomes a scam. They just like don't bother. That's possible, okay? But I think, there will come a time where, there will be this new breed of creators, okay, who, if I hold a few of their earlier works like their NFTs, okay, it's going to be a massive win, like say 15, 10, 20 years down the line. That's really what the whole concept is out here.
So for the listeners, once again, I'll just highlight this point. You see many YouTubers that offer T-shirts or coffee mugs or something like that. Those are assets, but physical assets with physical utility.
Yes.
You might not be able to resell them unless it
Yes.
is autographed or and you're at a pawn shop somewhere to sell it.
Right.
With Fandify, what Arun is has brought to our the utility, what he has brought to all of us is that you as fans can own the NFT, own the digital asset, and even resell it whenever you want with least hassle, without going anywhere, without packing or delivering, or without any other things. You can just resell it or hold it and see the value building on it. That's a very interesting point. So Arun, we talked about, so there's one question then, why Fandify? Because even in podcasts and videos like this, I tell my supporters that if you want to support this channel, if you like what you're doing, then you can buy my NFT, and then I give links, or you can become a Patreon. So I
Right.
give links in the description. So uh, supporters can directly go and buy NFTs on OpenSea, right? That's again digital art, and it's there. Like they can just collect it from there, and they can support it in that way also.
Right.
So how is Fandify and their mechanism beneficial both for the fans and for collectors as well as for the artist?
Great question. So, okay, so there's this interesting concept called social coins, right? So you must have heard of, there are sites called Roll, Rally, and a few other startups where you can go and create your own ERC20 token. So I can create a Tanmay coin, for instance, right? And I can create a 1 million supply of that, and then I can get my fans to, buy this. And then, people, because of supply and demand, your coin value will go up. And then, that's one way of fundraising. It's like an ICO, right? So you have one way of getting your fans to buy into your token, right? That has been a very popular concept, but the problem with that is there are a lot of these pump and dump schemes. Okay, so it's very easy to manipulate the economics of that. So I can come in, and if you're a famous person with a social coin, I can artificially bloat the price up by buying a lot, and then, like, I can essentially sell off at a higher price and then crash the whole market. Or if you yourself as a creator want to sell some coins and pay the bills, you will crash your economy. So you see, it's a fairly complex thing if you're going to. It's like running your own country, man, with your own currency and stuff. It's such a complicated way of raising funds and making your fans involved because all they're doing is buying a Tanmay coin. I mean, what does it mean? Okay, it's like currency, right? It's just currency. But with Fandify, we're taking that basic concept of a currency, okay, and turning it into a multi-edition NFT. Okay. Now you could say that, hey, what's the difference? I have my fans. I can tell them, hey, go to Patreon, or I can say, buy my NFTs, right? But what we are trying to do is you can do what you're doing with Patreon as well, okay, by token gating, right? Based on if you have this NFT, I'll give you access to this. But if you have three editions of this NFT, you get this. Or if you have 10 editions, you get something else. You understand? So it's because it's these are multi-edition NFTs, how many editions you own determines which level of fan you are and what level of access you have, right? So it is the utility is built into the number of editions. So I could say that maybe you have a one, we can make 1,000, let's say we make 1,000 edition NFT, right? And you can say that anyone who owns 100 editions or more, okay, is a special guest. When you have your live show, tickets are free forever, right? They're your super fans, okay? But if you hold, like, say, 10 NFTs, they're in a different level. So you see, the multi-edition concept is kind of like what social coins does, okay? But unlike social coins where I can pump and dump and manipulate the market, these are NFTs, so there is no specific price. The market is like the fans, they determine the price. So it gives you that certain level of protection. Plus, it has some artistic value as well. Maybe it is like it's a good looking, like, NFT with some artistic value. So it has utility, it has resale value, it can also be considered an artifact. Okay. So there's so many functions wherein you can use this. So you're right. What makes Spandify special is that we have basically made it easy for artists to do this. That's all. Okay. We're helping you write your smart contract and mint your multi edition NFT, right? Using our backer tokens. So when you mint your backer token with, say, 1,000 editions or 100 editions, and you mint your actual NFTs on top of that, the revenue distribution when a sale happens automatically on chain, so you don't have to manually configure that. That's all. Okay, so we're just making it easy for somebody to do it, and we are completely decentralized, so everything is stored in IPFS. You get your own smart contract. Okay, nothing is written on our smart contract, so every project in fact is different. Okay, it's its own smart contract. So all that difficult. So you don't need to go and hire a developer and do this. So you can just do it right away. Okay, and it's completely free. Our fee is basically we take a commission on every sale that happens. So that's basically where we make our money.
I'll put it. I'll reframe it from two perspectives. From one, from the perspective of who are still not on crypto or still not on
Yes.
NFTs. So those people who are listening and who are creators, as Varun said, you're like you're giving shares of yourself, like a private limited or a public limited or a listed company, like we see on stock market. You can create that and you can sell it to your collectors. That way, you can raise funding, and that all is on a contract. You don't have to manually do anything. Everything is automated. Whatever promise you have made of how much returns they will get on future sales, that is automatically done through the contract. That is number one. Number two is from the perspective of people who are already on NFTs. So I asked him the question, what if I just sell it on OpenSea? That was a that was an interesting thing that he said. It's a mixture of both Patreon and OpenSea. So different levels get different things. Also, you own an NFT that you can resell. Now, about let us dive deeper into the things that you can do. So, as you mentioned, royalties from future sales. So, how does that work? Is there a structure that you already have, or there is any possibility, or what is usually done in
Sure.
Fandify with?
See, secondary sales is still a very new concept in the NFT space. Okay, in the sense, um, if the secondary sale happens on Fantify's marketplace, the revenue distribution happens in real time. It's immediately distributed. But if the secondary sale happens, let's say on a third party, like say OpenSea, right? Because once I buy your NFT, I can sell it on OpenSea. Okay, nothing stops me from doing that. But then what happens is that the OpenSea basically now has to, will send the royalty to, to the what do you call, to the artist or the creator, and then they have to manually now distribute it to the fans. There's no way
Okay.
to fully automate that flow yet. Okay, what we can do is bring out social signals. Okay, social signals basically means that I can very easily say, hey, this NFT had X amount of secondary sales, this much has reached the creator's wallet, and X number of tokens or so much of ETH is yet to be distributed to the fans. I mean, you can literally show a balance sheet online and say, this person has made so much money, but he's not paid his fans yet. That's a bad social signal. Okay, all you have to do is click one button and everyone gets paid. Okay, but that signal will be there for your fans to see, right? And that's the beauty of blockchain. It will always reflect. Okay, so all Fandify will do is it will show the artist, the creator, and the fans like a mirror, right? It's there. Nobody can turn around and say, Are yaar, I've not made secondary sales. Well, no, you have. It's there. Okay. So so that's the thing. But there's also a point to be made that sometimes there are private secondary sales. Okay, and this is like a problem with many transactions, and there's very little that we can do about it. There's a lot of work that's happening. There's some new NFT standards that are being developed to standardize royalties so that artists get their due. Okay, this is not a technology problem, this is a social problem. Okay, so let's say I want to sell you an NFT, right? I can do what we call a private transfer, right? I can transfer it to your wallet, right? And then you can just send me the ETH. So that way we don't have to pay commission to anyone, including the creator of that NFT.
Hmm.
Okay, but let's say tomorrow we do this transaction. Okay, we'll have to do it using some. It's very difficult to hide it. You understand? So somebody will figure out that we basically did a transaction and we did it in such a way that the creator of that artwork didn't get the secondary sale royalties. Okay, that's a bad signal for you and me. And the beauty of the blockchain is that it's so apparent that this fraud has happened. So people will not do it. So that's the social contract, okay, that comes along with the smart contracts, I think. And tomorrow there's a lot of work happening in the background to make sure that platforms like OpenSea make this data transparent. They have to publicly show X amount of sales have happened, this much amount of transactions have happened, all of that has to be transparent so everyone can see it, right? So
Aren't they doing it now? It is available, right?
it is available, but it's still a little opaque. Okay, in the sense like if there's a private transfer that happens, there's no way to show that like something like this happened. Okay, and it's possible that there's a question mark that there is something wrong with this transaction. Okay, because it was done privately, but it's possible. No, I mean I could move my NFT from my own wallet from one wallet to a second wallet. I can transfer it. Okay,
Yeah.
there's
It
no way
doesn't.
of
It doesn't show transfers, but
yeah,
people, there's a work around it. You can
yeah,
see a number of sales, and you can compare with number of owners.
exactly,
So when you compare that figure, you might know how
exactly.
many transactions have taken place. But that's still an approximation, not actual figure.
It's not actual figures. Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So, like I said, it's a long way to go, and I think there's a lot more work that needs to be done to ensure that artists get their due.
You mentioned that there are some contracts where they will get all the future royalties. So can the artist keep it in this way that okay, only for the next year or only for 2 years, or put a limit on that? Because what if they want a second round of funding? What if they want something new or something more? from the same
Absolutely.
fans.
Absolutely. So with Fantify, the way we have created the platform is that you can create unlimited number of projects or phases, right? So you can have phase one, and that phase one can have in your terms and conditions, you can say, my phase one is only for the next 6 months or for the next 5 years or 2 years, whatever. You can set your time frame, right? After that, it's explicitly it's over. That entire, like, that set that you've sold is over, right? And you don't need to continue to give royalties or continue to abide by that contract. It depends on how you're writing the project. That's it. Okay, so you can specify it however you want. Okay, but if those artifacts still continue to have secondary sales because of the smart contract, you continue to get secondary royalties on those. Okay, it doesn't stop you. Absolutely. So it's very flexible. You can do it the way you want.
Mhm. So, as you were mentioning about burnout and other ways of doing it, Twitter has something like super follow that I see many people subscribing to as well. Those people who are doing spaces and are influential, maybe collectors or something, they have done this option of super follow where you can give a monthly subscription and then it's like Patreon, they tell you
Right.
what things they can do. So that is there. There are more things coming out like that. And about the burnout factor, how the burnout is reduced with Fandify.
So, see, I would say, when I talk about the burnout part of it, right? The context of the burnout is when you're looking at successful creators on Patreon or any of these Web2 platforms, the amount of work that you need to do to sustain a subscriber base. See, maintaining a subscriber base without churn is very, very difficult. Okay, in fact, you know, even a company like Netflix with nearly unlimited funding sees, downward trend of subscribers. Okay, we have subscriber, like, there's a glut of things that we today there are people who are unsubscribing everywhere. Okay, because there's so many things that you're paying for, you want to cut down costs everywhere. Okay, subscription as a model, as a business model, even for well established businesses, is a very hard to sustain. Okay, you have to constantly exceed yourself, month on month on month. Okay, so that's kind of how where there's a problem. But if you look at like a few YouTube stars, like say, I think what's his name, Paul Logan, I think. So he did you know, so he's got a subscriber base, okay, a few million followers on YouTube, right? So he recently did an NFT, project. Okay, it's called 99 or something like that, I think. Okay, he shot 99 photographs. Okay, very uniquely styled photographs. It took him about 3 months or something to do it. But he has raised, using NFTs, he's raised over what? Almost $1 million now, okay, which is all gone into a community fund, right? Some of these creators, they don't need the funding per se, okay, but they need to engage their fans, right? So what better way to engage the fans? There are two ways. One is you have to constantly churn out new engaging content. Absolutely, that's without a given, okay, without a fact that you have to do that. But to maintain your fans, if you give them a digital asset that they can hold on to, which is what an NFT is, okay, is a lot easier. I don't need to continuously sell it again and again. The market takes care of it, right? Once my asset is minted and my fan base owns it, I just continue doing my creative work, right? The market handles the value of that NFT, right? I don't need to constantly answer questions like, hey, I'm subscribing every month, I pay $10. Okay, what have you given me this month? I don't need to answer those kind of questions. That's how this concept stops the whole, what do you call, burnout. Of course, this will not work for all creators. Okay, you still need to have a subscriber base, you still need to have a focused audience, you still need to have a business model. You probably even need to have a Patreon subscriber base before you can transition to this. Okay, it's
Yeah.
I think many people look at NFTs like a get rich quick sort of a scheme. You come in and then you suddenly do a drop, and then people are falling over each other to buy your NFT, and suddenly there's so much of money in your wallet, and now you don't know what to do. Those things don't happen. Okay? It's very rare. Okay, so it's a sustained, like, process.
So I have a counterpoint to this. With Fandify, it is one-time purchase, right? You get NFTs one time. So the artist is getting all the funds one time. With Patreon, it's a continuous thing. So you
Right.
know that okay, your basic things will be taken care of because these artists are supporting me through the Patreon or any other channels, and
Right.
I can focus on my artwork. I don't need to run for the day-to-day things. With Fantify, they have only paid once and it's done. What about the once that amount is will get over, right? He will
Right.
need another subsequent round of fundings, and even for the first time sell, I suppose they keep a higher price because they think that okay, with higher
Right.
price I'll be able to cover one whole year together. But for that higher price also, you need that many supporters um
Right.
who will say purchase that, right? So there has to, what I'm trying to say is they have to they'll have to have that much amount of work needs to be done to at least create that first 1,000 super fans, or
Absolutely.
some till some level they have to reach. And these are different methods that they can use to uh, raise funds and collect funds and stay connected with the audience.
No,
What do you
absolutely.
think about that?
See, I can give you examples on Fandify itself of how this can work for smaller use cases and larger use cases. Okay. So we've
Yeah, that
had,
was my next question. What are the success stories with
yeah, yeah,
Fandify? Yes,
absolutely.
please go ahead.
The first, I would say, the most interesting success story was in our initial first month when we launched. We had an artist from from Kerala. She set up a small project to raise, I think, $500 or something like that. Okay, and the objective of that fundraise was basically to buy an iPad and an iPencil so that she can do these mandala style, like, intricate drawings. Okay, previously she was doing it on a desktop and it's not like very intuitive to do it, right? So we set up a project that had a very simple objective. I'm this artist based in India, can't afford to buy an iPad, and these are my works. And if you buy my, backer tokens, I'll be able to purchase an iPad, and then I can produce some really spectacular NFTs. And guess what? If my NFTs sell, I'll give you 50 or 60% of everything I make to my early backers. Okay, it's my starting point as an artist. That was it. That was really the thing. Okay, so guess what happened? Many people just, like, said, "Hey, you know what? You want an iPad? That's it, right? Here you go." And they just bought the backer tokens, right? Because it's very few backers thought, "Oh, you know what? This person is going to become famous, and this $10 that I'm putting is going to become $10,000." Nobody looks at it like that. Okay, they're like, "I just want this artist to buy the iPad and create some artwork. Let me see it." Okay, so that was a starting point. She went out there, she did it, and she tweeted and she said, "I'm so glad that my backer token sold out. See, I've bought my stuff." She in fact tweeted that, this is what I did and this is what I got. And over the next course of a few months, she put out a lot of her NFTs. And who bought it? The people who bought her backer tokens again went and bought the NFT as well. You feel like you're part of something, okay?
Yeah.
So the funding aspect sometimes works from that side. There is a social aspect to it that's very, very strong, not the financial side, right? There are some people. So what Fantify tries to do is, like, balances both, and it can work for small initiatives like this, okay? And it can also work for larger initiatives. So let's say you are making a film now. We have a couple of film projects as well that are
So
trying
can
to
you just
raise.
name the person who raised funds for the iPad?
Yeah, so I think this was Tangled Diva. I think, okay, she's the one. She's there on her on our. If you go to our Fantify website, you will find one of the earliest projects. She does these mandala arts. Okay, where, these sort of intricate drawings.
I'm on the
Um,
website right now. I'm on
yes,
the Fandify app.fandify.com.
yes, yes. So go to this project called Serene Loops. Okay, and you'll see the the project. Okay, so that was the
Where?
project.
Mhm. Okay, Serene Loops.
Yeah, so she raised what, 600 Matic, I think. I think when she raised that, Matic prices were also high. So, so that gives you an idea. Okay, it's a
I
very small fundraise.
I I don't see a search option here.
If you
So
just
how
scroll
do I?
down, it's one of the early projects.
Okay. So Serene Loops, guys, you can check it
Yes.
out. I will also find a link and put it
Yeah.
in. Yes. Now let's talk about the bigger projects like films.
See, the when we are talking of bigger projects, okay, we started concentrating a lot on film related projects, okay, and there have not been many successful film related NFT launches yet, okay, so it's very, very new. And there were some things, and we've been out only for the last 8 months or something that we've been live, okay. So one of the learnings is that as projects get larger and bigger, um, the amount of protection that you need to give people who are buying into these projects, get becomes greater. Okay, so let's say I want to raise $200,000 now. Okay, using Fandify. Now the person who's buying these NFTs needs some protection. That's a lot of money. Okay, is the person going to do what they tell they are going to do? Right? Are they going to complete the project? All of these factors come into question. So one of the new features that we're building into the system is a way in which you have a automated sort of a DAO that's part of this sale. Okay, it's like all built in. You don't have to go and write some special smart contract to do this, right? So I'll give you one simple example. There could be a project where you can set it up as a filmmaker and say, hey, you know what? I want to raise $200,000. Okay, and this is my vision for this film. This is what I want to do, and don't pay me all this money at once. I just want $10,000 a month. That's it, right? So it's like a vesting period. So every month from that community wallet, 10,000 USDC will be transferred to the creator's wallet, right? Now, what does that do to me as a person who's bought into this NFT? Well, if I think that this project is not progressing well, okay, I can burn that NFT and I can get a portion of the money that I gave out from the
Oh,
wallet instantly. Okay, I can quit. I can quit and take the money back. So what this does is I can participate in some really good projects which I believe in. But if things go sour, the community can decide to, like, hey, this has gone too much. Let's pull the plug, right? And they can all decide, or individually also you can decide to pull out. So there are many of these sort of concepts that are still very new and they're slowly coming into the public domain. Okay, so we're working on different concepts of this sort where you have a lot of protection for larger projects. So on Fantify, we are yet to see large projects. I mean, we have done like $5,000, $10,000. Those are the sort of limits that you can do in terms of this level of fundraising. The minute you go a little bit bigger, you need to have a lot more protection, and that's kind of what we're working on next.
that is very interesting. You can burn it. So in both the ways you can manage.
Yeah,
I I have a good friend named Shuruk. She's from and
yeah,
she has raised around 3,000 USDC.
yeah.
So how was her journey? She was like, you just need to contribute $8 and you'll have certain
Yes.
percent from the sale.
So hers was a very interesting. So she was probably one of our first like well-known artists who came onto the platform. Okay, who had like a very interesting story. Some of her artwork is banned in Kuwait and all that. Okay, so she's got this really fascinating story. And her profile page is something that you can just sit and read. Okay, you can just like it almost reads like a history in terms of everything that she's been through. It's very fascinating. See, with Fandify, I think the way to think about Fantify is you come in to discover new people, artists, okay, and then you can buy into their future. That's kind of how we should look at it. So when Shuru came and set up her platform, we just knew that this is going to be big. Okay, I mean, she's she's got a lot of history. She's done a lot of work. So when you buy her backer token, you just know that just holding that backer token over a period of time, it's just simply going to pay out. Okay, and that's it. And actually, it is paying out. Okay, so she started to sell a lot of her NFTs, and with Fantify, you can actually go to my. I can show you if I go to my wallet, I can see all the little matic that keeps coming into my wallet because of all the artists that we own, right? You see that ecosystem slowly building, right? So the idea with Fantify is like, you come in and you come in and buy early. There's no point in buying an artist's work once they've hit like big time. Okay, you probably can't afford it, but come in and support them when no one knows them and you've sort of discovered. Okay, that is much more exciting, right? And then you be part of that journey as they grow.
That is the most interesting point. Buy in early and buy in the journey of the artists.
Exactly, exactly. Be part of the journey. Okay, that is much, much more rewarding, right? You want when the artist becomes famous and they write their autobiography, right? You want your name to be in that and say like, hey, these are the people who, these are the wallets that supported me when I was no one knew me, right? That's the story, right? That is something that you can pass on to your kids and your grandkids. you know.
So, very interesting point. And you were mentioning about contracts or giving
Yeah,
out free tickets to the
yeah,
first live contract. That reminded me of my NFT that I did. So, 2021 was a great year, and all my characters in 2021, I made a special NFT that was my best of the best artwork that I did at that time. So on 1st of January, I gave it to them, and in the unlockable contents on OpenSea, I had given couple of things. So one of that was they'll have free access to all my conferences or live show that I do for the next 10 years.
right.
Then there was, yeah, then there were a couple of more things. So that reminded me of that. Now uh, it's interesting to see because again there's the manual work there, right? Description, seeing their wallet and contact when actually they come to redeem it or when they come.
There's a lot of
But
work.
with Fantify, I think that all can be automated.
Absolutely.
Can you have like scanner and QR code and just check it out instead of manually looking it up? You can
So,
just test it. Okay, this is, I have this backer token and I have the access sort of.
so we have something called we are building something called a token gate. Okay, a token gate is basically, again, a lot of this works on the digital side. Okay, now you can do something similar on the physical space as well. Okay, but physically, basically, what you can do is like if you can sign into your wallet and you have my NFT, then I will print out a unique ticket for you that you can redeem it. That you can use at a physical event. Okay, so it's very easy to do that. Okay, it's not a difficult concept. Thing is identity. You have to make sure that the person who owns this NFT is the one who's accessing it. Okay, so I'm always tell people that when you're looking at NFTs and you're tying it to the physical world, there's still a lot of work that needs to be done. Okay, an NFT is only tied to a wallet. It's not tied to a person. Okay, so it's difficult. But on the digital side, let's say you have an online conference, okay, and you're giving access. What you can do on Fantify is it's very, very simple. You can go in and you can choose that people who hold this NFT or this NFT plus my foundation work plus my OpenSea work. You can create like multiple combinations, okay, and then you can say only if they have this, they have access to this page, and on that page you can do whatever you want. You can embed your Twitch stream, you can embed your YouTube video, you can do all sorts of things in that page, and only people who have the token have access to that page. So that's the token gating stuff that we are building now, okay, where you
That's
can
very
sort of
interesting.
control it.
I just remembered a person who is very active and can make a very good use of this. Mariam,
Yeah,
she has around 70,000 followers on Twitter and she does spaces. She also has a super follow.
yeah,
So, what she is offering is a Zoom call with her
yeah,
and her tips for many other things and so on. So, I
absolutely.
think that can also be embedded in that. All people can access directly join the
Absolutely.
link
See, one of the other
on that.
underutilized features of NFTs is like proof of participation NFTs, right? So, free
POAP, people
POAPs.
also call
Okay.
it as.
Now, POAPs are, I think underutilized. In my view, it's a very, very powerful concept. Okay. And the reason why it's a little difficult is because, see, think about NFTs they cost money when you transfer and you do certain things. Okay. It is still expensive, okay, to do it. So, We have a pilot proof of concept, okay, and we actually use this in Namaste NFT, okay, and it worked beautifully well, right? So the way it works on Fandify is that you can mint a free NFT that anyone who attends a physical space or a digital space can claim, right? It's basically an NFT that all it requires you to sign your wallet. But on top of that, you also have to put in a password, okay? And that password is accessible only if you attended a space or if you attended like an event, okay? So it's something that you can get, like let's say at a physical. Let's take a simple example, okay? This you will relate to. You hold Twitter spaces, okay, and people come and attend. Let's say a few hundred people come and attend every week, right? Let's say you want to reward your most regular attenders, people who come in every week, okay? You want to reward them, okay? Let's say if you come for 5 of my shows, you're eligible to get a free Zoom call with me. Same concept, right? That's basically the thing. Now, what you can do with this new feature that we have on Fantify is that you can have a token gated page, okay, or basically a page which hosts your Twitter Space NFT, and and this NFT can have like 500 editions or whatever, right, or 1,000 editions, and then you can have a password for each session, okay? So let's say I come into session one, or like on today's space I come in, and then during the space, because it's audio, you can say, guys, today's like passcode is this, okay? And whoever's attending the space, okay, now of course maybe they can go and tell their friends also, but what I'm basically trying to say is like, it's not like NSA level security, but think about it in a simple sense that at that space, if you're attending and you hear the passcode, you can go at that point and you can claim this free NFT. That's it, okay? You can just like basically sign in with your wallet. It's a one click option, no gas fee, nothing. You just claim it, that's it, okay? And it is there. Then the second space happens and I can go and claim another time, okay? So I can keep claiming it, but I've not transferred it yet. As a creator, I can transfer it whenever I want. When I do the transfer, it's a one-time fee, and we are on Polygon. Okay, so maybe you spend like 2 cents or something to do the transfer, and you can transfer a few thousand free NFTs to hundreds of people's wallets. Now, what has happened here is you have rewarded people who are attending your space. Okay, and with one click, you can see who your most active space participants are. Okay, you can say like, hey, this wallet belonging to this email address and this Twitter address has 20 POAPs. That means they are my most loyal fans. They keep coming back. Okay, you cannot do that on Twitter today. You can't do it on any platform. Okay, and because that's an NFT, now you can do all sorts of things, right? You can maybe transfer some ETH to their wallet, or you can give them an NFT, or maybe you can give them a discount, okay, on something that you do. It could be so many things, right?
That is beautiful. Like with the ENS domains, they had transferred a lot of ETH to all the holders.
Yeah,
So that is something that can be done. With respect to Twitter Spaces, our Twitter Spaces going on very well. We have 1.5k average people coming in every Saturday. So I
wow,
do a 12-hour space. You were also there a couple of times.
yep,
So we have around 60 to 100 people online at any given time, and about 1,500 or so people come in every week. So this could be something very good. I could announce that next time.
yeah.
It would be.
And that page will be available only during the space. After the space is over, you can't claim it.
Mhm.
Okay, so it's a great way to farm your listeners, okay, and like create this subscriber base or like this like follower base, okay, which you can utilize it in so many creative ways.
Even on podcasts. So each episode, I give out something and they can
Yeah,
go and claim it.
yeah,
So on one podcast, we had with us the face of Crypto Voxels.
yeah,
Her pseudonym is BitPixie, and she wanted to do a giveaway.
yeah,
So means my brain figures out things to do, workarounds to that. I mean, a lot of manual work, but then we still do it. But with Fandify, it'd be so easier to do with just couple of clicks and so on.
yeah,
So in that, what we said was, I knew who means I gave a code or I just gave a phrase, by which I would understand which people have watched the
Ah,
episode or not.
right.
And then when they do follow the instruction, then I transfer them. Then I ask for the wallet and then I transfer it to them.
It's a lot of
That
work.
takes up a bit of time. So this can happen now directly. That's a very cool idea.
Yeah,
And it was great to, you mentioned Namaste NFT in Bangalore, which happened in May. It was so great to meet you. I'm going to add a photo of that also in this video.
absolutely, man.
I had made a poem for that. Not a poem. It was just a token of gratitude to
Right.
mark a day that I met you on this
Yes.
first time in a real life Web3 event. So, did you receive that? It was a photo of an iris.
I think it is. I think see, this is one of the other big problems. Okay, when you give POAPs or when you transfer, right? I have no idea. Okay, whether I received it. It's because when you transfer, you know what happens, right? It goes off
It
into
ends
your
up in the
hidden.
hidden.
Okay, then you have to
Yeah.
go there and you have to unhide it and all that. So I think I have received it, but I don't even know which is the one that you sent me. Okay, so this is one thing we're trying to solve in Fantify. Okay, the minute you try to claim, no, you use normal Web2 methodologies. You get an email, you click a button, So when
Yeah.
the transfer happens, I receive a nicely worded email from you saying, "Hey, I've sent it. Click here." Guess what? The click
Wow.
takes me
Yeah.
to the hide page, the hidden page on OpenSea with the option to say unhide this because your friend sent you this. So this user experience is important. Okay, otherwise,
Absolutely.
it's not scalable. So there's so many of these small things that we have to sort of think through. And I have to check, Tanmay. Now that you said that because I completely forgot that you mentioned that you sent me this. Okay, and now that you're telling, yes, after this I have to go and check. Oh, which is the NFT you sent me? Because NFTs is becoming like spam. Okay, you need permission status levels where you have to keep on top of what is happening, and we just don't look into the hidden space at all nowadays. It's just there.
Yeah, because it is a bit risky also, right? With I don't know what
Yeah,
is the status now, but there were some NFTs that would wipe out the wallet if it is if it is unexpected or it's coming from sources that you didn't we'll get into that in a moment.
yeah,
But what point you mentioned about email and that would be such an amazing interface, and I'm totally in for that. I'll probably use Fandify for all my things, the giveaways or perhaps that I'm doing. It's very
absolutely.
interesting. So about those contracts, I'll just take a segue.
Yeah.
People transfer anything, and how were they able to wipe out the wallet just by a transfer or somebody trying to delete it or transfer it somewhere else?
See, uh, one of the one of the things to understand is like an NFT in itself. Let's say there's an NFT that has been transferred to your wallet. Um, there's nothing specifically malicious about that NFT, right? Unless, say, the metadata has some payload that you go and click on and it does something else. Okay, like I said, the NFT is nothing but like a record on the blockchain, but that can point to a file. Okay, that file could have all sorts of malicious intent. Okay, it could be anything stored on IPFS. If it gets downloaded, it could be it could be harmful. But by itself, an NFT can't do anything. It can't, like, just because I sent, that would mean like the most dangerous thing. I know your wallet. I'll just send you the NFT. Once it reaches your wallet, just wipe. I mean, come on, it just doesn't work like that, right? So there has to be some action, okay? And what happens with a lot of these scams is that there's a lot of social engineering that happens, okay? So let's say, there are instances where you're taken to a site that kind of looks exactly like OpenSea, okay? But for some reason you're logged out, right? And then you have to connect your wallet. But when you connect your wallet, it doesn't actually pull up MetaMask. It pulls up a small window that looks like MetaMask and asks you to put your seed phrase there. And this has been done very successfully across lots of scams where I've personally known people who have put in their seed phrase unknowingly into a window that looks like MetaMask, right? And the minute you do that, you know that, oh shit, now it's like It goes into that cycle, and then that's when your funds get wiped out. So it's a lot to do with the social engineering part. From
So
a
you
yeah.
mentioned entering the seed phrase, but I've also heard of cases where they deleted the item or tried to burn it or do something like that. With that also it happened. So how?
So
Because nobody actually goes and downloads a file from a metadata or something like that.
see, if you do something, what happens in some cases, let's say you're doing it on, let's say you're doing it on the website itself, okay, which is like sort of minting where the NFT is being minted, right? When the NFT is being minted, you're going to the site and you're minting the NFT, and or you're like buying the NFT, right? It opens MetaMask and there is a transaction there. It's very clearly written what you're doing, right? So the problem is that wallets today have the worst user experience. I think MetaMask is probably the worst, okay, in terms of just user experience. It's terrible, okay. You don't know what's happening there, okay. You don't know if you're giving permission to something, whether you're revoking permission. Everything is a transaction, right? And sometimes these transactions can be dangerous and you don't know what you're doing, right? So you think you're minting the NFT, but maybe there is some other things that it's doing. Maybe it's asking
Hmm.
for permission instead of saying it's a transfer of an NFT. It's something else, okay? And you don't know, okay? So
So
sometimes those sort
what
of things also happen.
what I usually suggest the audience on the spaces, like on space, we discuss everything. We
Mm,
want to help them to help us to
yeah,
help you. That's what I said. So I say, create a burner wallet when you're minting from the other side.
yeah,
So whatever happens, that is limited to that wallet.
yes,
Burner wallet is an additional wallet. So my question, circling back to the question, there are hundreds of Polygon-based NFTs lying in my hidden folder that I didn't expect. I don't know where they're coming from.
yeah.
Um so there was just one case where he was like, I tried to delete those one of those. I didn't want to see so many in my collection in the hidden or whatever. So he actually tried to go and delete that, and then something happened. Are you aware of this case, or
I'm not really aware
is there
because
a way of?
see, when you say delete, right, it's a misnomer, right? The only way to delete is to send it to some blank wallet or something. Okay, so you're just transferring out of your wallet, right?
Yeah.
But if you transfer, you still need to open the MetaMask and you have to run some transaction. Okay, so I don't know if that did something, but it's very unlikely that transferring an NFT does something malicious to your wallet. I mean, I can't possibly see any way that would have happened, right?
Mhm.
So at least it depends on where this was done. Again, if you're doing it on OpenSea, I can't think of any reason why something like that would happen. Like I open
Mhm.
OpenSea and I unhide it, I just sign in my wallet and that's it. The NFT is there. Okay, it's not doing anything. It's not interacting with my wallet in any way.
Mhm.
Okay. The idea about signing is basically to tell you that this wallet, the person who owns this wallet is signing out, like, you have access to your wallet. That's it. Okay. It's not doing anything else. It's not running a transaction, right?
Mhm.
It's a huge difference.
So only, yeah, let it. So I just say let it lie there. Don't touch with it. Don't interact with it.
Yeah.
It doesn't do any harm if it is there. And now after talking to you, also even transferring, even a transfer transaction wouldn't do anything on OpenSea itself, right?
Yeah, I can't really think of any way in which something. I mean, that could be like a fundamental flaw with the NFT concept itself, right? I mean, it's just going to be
Mm.
like it's like that hacking that they have on iPhones, right? Where you don't even have to click a button; they just like give you a missed call, and if you just get that call, your phone is compromised. Okay,
Oh no.
yeah, that's the whole Pegasus. What do you call that company that does the hacking of the exploit on the iPhone, right? It's a very dangerous. It's called a zero click exploit. You don't need to click on
That's
anything.
not, that doesn't happen on Android, right? So
Well, it happens on
even,
Android as well. Yeah, on pretty much any smartphone. Okay, you can literally hack the phone without me clicking on anything. But the only thing is that software sells for millions of dollars. Okay, so if your phone is hacked, you're some really famous person. Okay.
because people keep selling this data, right? The phone numbers and all are easily available. You get 10
Yeah,
spam calls every day.
exactly,
So
exactly.
so
No, it's a
just if
very
they, just if they give a missed call, that happens. That's very
yes.
strange.
Yes.
just on
So
a missed call.
just from it, and guess who buy? So here's the thing, Tanmay. You and me cannot afford the software. Okay, it's very expensive. So only governments, secret service agencies, they're the ones who buy this software. Okay, and I think it's like always a cat and mouse game, right? So there are companies that go and hide these exploits. So iOS and Android continuously hide these exploits. But the thing with exploits is you never know if an exploit exists, okay, unless it comes out, okay. So maybe our phones are compromised, but we won't know it, okay.
Until you are
So
very famous.
exactly. And it comes out, right, and then fine, yeah, then
Yeah.
so it's a complicated world that we're going into, right? But I think the whole concept of NFTs is rock solid in terms of the security aspect, where something like that is unlikely to happen, okay. I mean,
Mhm.
that would be like that would be I can't think of anything that that can have that sort of an effect.
Absolutely. Because of so many nodes that are saved on so many computers and the fundamentals, I would definitely make a video for the
Yeah,
non-native crypto people about blockchain and NFTs. So
absolutely.
most common attacks, the spams I've seen is of phishing,
Yes,
website not looking the same.
yes,
Last week there was somebody who tried to type in foundation, and they were taken to some other website that looked exactly like that website and connected, right, wrote the seed phrase, and it was gone.
yes,
So I suggest the viewers always to either have a hardware wallet or keep a bookmark of the genuine websites, or follow the top organic result on Google search, not
yes.
the ad ones. So, Arun, let's now go to the next part. I was so excited to see you in NFT NYC as well.
Yeah.
So, over there, you spoke about two topics, such as the democratizing patronage with NFTs and future of NFTs gamification and utility. So, can you tell us a bit more about these two topics?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So, first thing, see, democratizing patronage was something that it was a 5 minute, like a rapid fire talk, okay, just to give people a perspective of what Fantify is. It was like more like a product pitch, like an elevator pitch, right? So, the idea behind that whole talk was when you look at patronage, right, which is like how have the arts been funded historically. Uh, it used to be kings and queens, okay. So if you're somebody with creative talent, you basically give money to this artist, and that guy makes this really amazing sculpture of you, and he makes you look good, right? So that's kind of how art used to be, right? Art is funded not because of the creative, it's like the skill level of the artisan to make you look good, okay. It's kind of like that. And it used to be, or maybe temples and religious institutions fund the arts, right? So that's kind of how patronage has been progressing in historically. But in the modern industrial age, governments, rich individuals, wealthy people, they are the ones who now become the patrons of art. So what does that say about culture, right? What is culture? Culture is like, what we all prescribe to, right? Oh, this something like this is cool, or something like this is exciting. Okay, let's say music, right? What is a hit song, or what's a movie that is popular, right? Sometimes if you go deeper into it, there are these power structures like, big corporations which determine what is good, what is art, or what is considered cool, right? So if you look at music, I think today music is like terrible if you look at the mainstream music, right? I mean, like, there's nothing artistic about it, and you're going down. I mean, that's not the future that's good for the next generation, okay. We need creative talent, okay, deciding what is good and what is bad, and not some top down structure that decides. So with democratizing patronage, with what we are trying to do with Fantify, we're trying to flip that model around. So with the power of your fan base, your fans determine what is good or what is bad, okay, rather than some top corporation that decides that, oh, you're going to be the next, pop star, right? I think the next big mega stars will come from YouTube and TikTok and like these creators who have so much of power and following, right? And Fantify will hopefully, be the base on which they can build this. That's kind of what my talk was when I was talking about democratizing patronage, right?
Very
uh,
interesting. The more we talk about this, I think if we do a study case of Patreon and other website, I think Fandify will get much more larger audience from YouTubers and Twitch channels and other places. That will be the biggest use case for onboarding them into NFTs, not just
exactly.
buying and selling, but they'll be onboarded to crypto also because of this platform like Fandify. I would definitely recommend anyone I meet. Yeah. So
Absolutely, yeah.
you were saying something when I interrupted, and then I also wanted to hear about gamification and utility.
Yes, yes, yes. See, that was an interesting panel. Okay, so I don't know how I ended up on that panel. Okay, basically because we have this, for some reason like Fantify and utility sort of fits in, and some of the other panelists were also, there was one who like working on like NFTs and real estate, and there was another person who was from these big studios that were tying physical collectibles with NFTs and things like that, right? So there's a lot of interesting discussions about uh, what is the utility aspect of NFTs, right? And it's a very touchy topic in the sense like there are a lot of people who are working on bridging the gap. Okay, how to use NFTs in the real world, right? It's kind of how they're looking at it. Oh, if I have an NFT, I can get like a physical good, a physical product, or something like that, right? I have a I have a very like extreme view of this. Okay, maybe I'm very biased. Okay, but I feel that the power of NFTs remains in its digital sphere. Okay, I mean, if you can do something in the physical space without an NFT, then you don't need an NFT. At least according to me, that's kind of how uh, that's kind of how I view it. At least today.
Why?
Okay, I'll give you an example. I've had many artists on Fantify who say, I will give you a physical version of this, a print, if you buy my NFT. Okay, it's very common, right? Many artists do that. Okay, I'll tell you where the practical aspect of this sort of falls through, right? One simple one is I cannot do anything about secondary sales. I buy your artwork and fine, you send me the physical artwork, right? Now, when I do my secondary sale, am I obligated to ship this physical artwork to my secondary? No, right? So it sort of fails the portability aspect. Okay, the beauty of NFTs is that it can transfer from one wallet to another, and then me as an artist can continue to get my royalties, and the new buyer gets the full utility of this NFT, right? But if it's tied to something physical, it's just not possible to translate that same experience. Very difficult to do it, right? So that is problem one. The second problem also is in terms of just privacy. This is a global concept. Okay, somebody in Nigeria can buy my NFT, right? But if I have to send this physical thing to somebody halfway across the world, forget about, people are having trouble giving you wallet addresses. Yeah, imagine asking somebody for their physical home address so that I can send you something. Okay, so from a privacy point of view as well, there's a problem. Okay, so during that discussion, we touched upon some of these aspects. Okay, that when you're looking at NFTs and you're looking at utility, at least today, it makes more sense to focus your energy in the digital sphere. Okay, and I made a strong case that over the next maybe 5 to 10 years, right? Your digital footprint is gradually getting bigger and bigger and bigger than your physical footprint. That is what NFTs are all about. Okay, NFT basically is telling the world that finally you have something digital that probably is the same or maybe even more valuable than your physical world, right? Think about all the aspects. Today we are having this podcast which is virtual, right? Tomorrow our work environment is also virtual. Okay, everything is moving more and more virtual. So tomorrow, yeah, I might go shopping in a virtual metaverse, and then I'll meet my friends. And guess what? I'll probably be wearing some Nike shoes in the virtual world. Okay, those Nike shoes will be worth more than the physical Nike shoes, probably. I don't know. But you see, it's that's the value part of it. The value is
For the
increasing in the digital sphere.
for physical getting into digital, the one thing that I'm looking forward to is conferences like NFT NYC
Yeah,
becoming online, where you can bump into each other or have
exactly.
conferences in the decentral sphere without
Decentraland,
having to
yeah,
travel so much. So, about physical, I want to give some other
sure.
points on that. I also have sold physical NFTs along with the digital NFT. I am very positive about its physical use case as well. Suppose birth certificates, land records, most of these government documents which can get lost or which takes a lot of time to get from the government or um, which can be manipulated with some time or somewhere the file gets lost or something happens, right? So if those things are on blockchain, that might reduce that is what I think. Um, and of course sending it to a physical address, and these are things that I had done offline.
Yeah,
So in the unlockable content, I was like, if you want to receive a physical piece, be mailed to me. I will send you the details and we can take it ahead from there. I also made a video of how I packaged it and opened it and all that. So what I'm saying is NFTs, even if physical, what they are doing is they're just showing the proof of ownership.
that's it.
Whether you sell it ahead or don't sell it, or how the logistics are done is a different part, but at least who's the owner can be proved there in those
So
ways.
there's only one point I'll add to that. Okay, when you say who's the owner, right? So here's one thing which is a very complicated problem that we're yet to solve in the blockchain crypto ecosystem, and this is the aspect of identity. Okay, everything that identity is not the same as your wallet address. It's two completely different things. Okay, they're not the same. Okay, and we have pseudonymous identities in the metaverse, right? And the minute you want to bridge that gap and bring it to the physical world, we need to prove beyond doubt that you are who you are, right? And there are many projects like proof of humanity and lots of other things very well tied into concepts of privacy. And these are complex problems, and we're not nowhere near to solving those things. Once those get solved, then NFTs will stream into the physical ecosystem, but not until then. At least that's my viewpoint.
Mhm. Proof of humanity, what is that about?
See,
I will check it out.
proof of
Is that
humanity
NFT
is
or is that
no,
physical?
no, it's not NFT here. So basically, the idea is this. Okay, so um, in a nutshell, okay, um, if I have to do something and say that, okay, let's say I need somebody to prove that whoever's giving me this something is human and it's not automated and it's not, or it's like a particular person, right? Let's say I want you to do a transaction with me now, okay, and I want to make sure that it's you, not just your wallet, but it's actually you, right? So you need to prove beyond doubt that you're human, okay? So that is tied to what? It's tied to all your physical, like your maybe your social security number. It could be based on so many other factors, right? Now the problem with all of these things is privacy, right? Maybe there's a certain level of privacy that we need, right? So okay, let's say I need to prove that whoever comes in is 18 years and above,
Hmm.
right? Now, for that to happen, okay, I need to first of all prove that whoever's coming in is human, right? And then you're above 18, okay? So there are different levels to identity, and then there's a wallet through which you sign. Okay. So what proof of humanity is trying to do is trying to create a platform, they're trying to create a concept where you don't have to worry about any of these aspects. You set your parameters. You say, I want only humans, okay, with this qualification or this criteria to come in through the door. And it will prove beyond doubt that this is true without giving any leaking out any privacy related stuff. Otherwise, what will happen? I have to have my own KYC at the doorstep, no? For that, I have to take your records. I have to do this. I have to do that. Who's
Aadhaar
willing to do
card.
all of those things? No one. Okay. That's what we're talking about. So the proof of humanity is a very interesting project. There's so many. There's Bright ID, proof of humanity, WorldCoin. There are lots of things, but trust me, that's is one of the most challenging what do you call
Problem to solve.
problems to solve today.
Are they Web 2 or are they making use of
No, it
blockchain?
can't be Web 2. It has to be decentralized. Okay, it's kind of like what we do with Aadhaar, right? Okay, Aadhaar is proof of humanity actually, but who controls it? It's the central government that controls it, right? They hold all the information. In fact, I think if it gets hacked, it probably is. You never know. All our private information is out there. Okay, so imagine the same concept, but it's decentralized. Take Aadhaar, but decentralize it. Okay, and
Okay.
make sure that the private key that you have, the wallet, is the only way you can unlock it. So that's kind of what we are talking about. Okay, but it's got so many layers to it, so many
Because
layers.
that'll be some next level problems to solve, because then again the problem comes of metadata and IPFS, which is available everywhere, and if it is decentralized, anybody can see it and how they can
Exactly.
have it. all
Exactly.
all these things are there in that, right?
It is not an easy, it's a very, very complex thing. You can see the benefits of it, right? See, because of Aadhaar, India was really able to streamline its entire like COVID vaccination. Okay. Many other countries struggle with like these sort of things because we have the infrastructure. All you do, it was so easy, right? All you do is just like register your mobile number, SMS, Aadhaar, everything done.
Finish,
Okay,
yes.
it's all done. Okay, it is very simple, but the problem with Aadhaar is also privacy. Okay, how is it being used? How is it being misused? You never know. Okay, and that's where things like proof of humanity and like a Web3 concept makes so much more sense.
So about the New York, how was the whole experience traveling there, attending the 2-day conference, and how was it? Tell us more
So
about it.
yeah, so I think when last year's NYC, NFT NYC sort of set the benchmark. Okay, they're like the marquee NFT event. Okay, everyone has to
Did
be
you go
there.
last year as well?
No, no, I didn't go last year. But last year the event was there was so much of hype around it. It was like, oh, this is the place to be, right? So we took on an early sponsorship when they announced. Okay, it was a lot cheaper for us, so we just took an early sponsorship. I think last year itself we wrote to them and we got a sponsorship, right? At that time, even ETH prices were high and they were getting sponsorships in ETH. So we said, okay, great, fantastic, and we took it. But the last 6 months, the story has changed, right? So when we what was really interesting was when we were there at the event, the energy levels were so high, okay, that it felt like we are in the boom time or something. Okay, everyone is like there's like a buzz of activity. In fact, there was so much of chaotic activity everywhere that it's not really a place where you can have meetings and like sit down and have some deep like conversations if you cannot. Okay, it's sort of this wild party. Okay, one event after the other. It's just like craziness all over, right? It's like a carnival. Okay, it's kind of what it is. Because of course there were a lot of panels, discussions, and stuff like that. But there were so many things happening at the same time. There were 1,500 speakers. Okay, so I mean, it's impossible to be everywhere at all the time. So you have to make choices where you want to be, right? And I think to some extent, a few things, were little poorly organized. There was a sit-in dinner. People were giving a talk. No one is really caring. They're all like having dinner. It was like just noisy. you know. And then so things like that. Okay, so it could have been maybe better organized. It's not exactly like a conference where you go and network and meet people. Okay, it's like a cross between like an event, conference, party, all sorts of craziness. Right? But yeah, it has a good vibe. Okay, and met a lot of really wonderful people. Was able to meet people that you speak on spaces in real life. Okay, so that was little, it was very unique. Okay, so but otherwise, yeah, man, it was great. Will I do it again? I don't know. let's see. It all depends. It all depends on. We were just thinking how many of the people who have these stalls and who are coming here will come again next year. Okay, how many will survive this difficult period? So that was really the question everyone was asking. Okay, who will survive, right?
Everyone was asking.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's
It was a
definitely there.
common talk.
Yeah, it was
Was
an
it a
open
vibe?
discussion. Yeah, the vibe is there, okay, because they all know that things are not going to be easy going forward. The next 6 months to a year, it's going to be hard. So who's going to survive? Who's going to be here again next year? And I think the ones who can survive this and be there the next year will have a long future. So
Mm-hmm.
it's all about keeping your head above the water.
Hmm. So, how was the overall ROI for the whole trip and for the whole hassle of being there and participating?
In these sort of things, it's very difficult to really calculate any form of ROI. Yeah. Okay, I wish I had a simple answer, but sometimes I feel these marketing expenses that you just do, right? You just put the money in, and then it's like gambling. Okay, if it works, it works. It doesn't work, it doesn't work. It's very difficult to manage it. That's why I hope we have more digital events. Okay, I'm, that would be so much better. Okay, just having the ability to, like, network with people but in a digital global scale, amazing. I'm really hoping that we'll have something like that.
We are doing that in a way with Twitter Spaces, right? So,
Yes,
I invite you again once to join on the Twitter Space.
absolutely, man, absolutely.
But what's the problem there is, they have to listen only to the speakers. Like on a conference, you can talk amongst the audience itself, right? Audience can talk amongst themselves. So,
Just give it another 2 3 years, Tanmay. I'm pretty sure with the kind of VR headsets that we're going to get, that are going to come out on the market, and the fidelity with which we can interact with each other, even podcasts like this, I think 2025, your podcast, we probably will be sitting on a sofa. It will look absolutely real. Okay, we'll have the
yeah,
sound,
that would be so
sound,
cool.
and whatever, man. It's going to be amazing. Okay, so you can't make out the difference. Okay, the resolution will be and the fidelity will be so high that I literally can look into your eyes and speak. Okay, and that's kind of what it is, right? So I'm pretty sure we'll come to that point. But once that happens, I think all these physical spaces where you go meet people and actually interact with them, people will not really resonate with that. They will be still be there, but a small portion of it. I think it'll be more fun to, you know, I don't know, controversial subject, but I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, actually, the only point that attracts me about going to this big events is people that usually don't come up to together on spaces or
Yes.
event ke bahane, or with an excuse for the event, everybody is coming together, right?
Yeah.
Even in NFT, Namaste NFT, that was my first and only event for NFTs I've been to, and which we met there as well. I made it a point, more than attending events, of course, apart from the
Yeah.
panel I was on, and couple of others. I spend most of the time meeting people in the audience, passers by, people coming in new, just going and asking them what brought them to NFTs, how I could do something for them, or what we do, and met so many people, the creators of many finance related companies, transact related. There were some professors who was early adopter of Bitcoin. So many interesting people that I've met. I'm trying to get them on this podcast also soon. So that is the only thing that attracts me about real life events.
Right.
So I hope that comes on to decentralized as well.
No,
Uh,
absolutely. I'm pretty sure it will be at a much higher level. Okay, so you will have the opportunity to meet people who will probably never travel to these physical places, right? That's the
yeah,
exactly right. I mean, it's just gonna take it to another level. Okay, and so that's gonna be great.
very interesting. So there is NFT London also coming up. Any
Yeah,
plans for
yeah,
that?
yeah. There's NFT London. There's a Paris one. So now what has happened is, with me attending one space, I keep getting spam emails. Okay, every city NFT. So everyone is sort of maximizing it. Okay, they want to have their own like cities NFT event now. But let's see.
Is it the is NFT London the same organizer of
Yeah.
NFT NYC?
Yes, it's the same.
Hmm. So, yeah, I am thinking of going. My main plan was for NFT NYC next year,
Uh-huh.
but I'm going to apply and keep for the speakers at NFT London as well in coming days. So, how? What are the tips that you would give me for who's going to go for the first time to these places,
I
or people in the listeners who are interested in going at those events?
So, one thing that, I think with events, the best thing to do, with events is plan early, okay, in terms of, like especially when it comes to, events, maximizing your time is important. Okay, so think of it like, there's a everyone is congregating at one place, but you have only so many hours, okay, to meet. So what I tend to do, and then I've been to many events, okay, so I've attended many industry events and stuff like that. So what I do is I tend to plan at least, like, say, a month or two in advance, right? Make a list of people that you potentially would like to meet, right? And then reach out to them well in advance, okay, and have something set in the calendar, right? This is easier said than done because when you are new to an event, you don't know the layout, okay, you don't know what's going on. So that was a problem for me this time because I didn't know how NFT NYC is set up, right? But I remember that in the previous events that I used to go, industry events, I would know that there's a cafe here, I would know that there's a lounge here and stuff like that, right? So it's really easy. So you can say like, hey, we can meet here this day, this time. So you have this calendar. If you can master that and have a way in which you can slot out your schedule, you can truly maximize it. That's one tip. The second tip, I would not, if you're going alone, don't like take a stall or like, don't park yourself in one place. Okay. If you have a team, then you can do many things. But I find it much more effective to just like walk around and meet people. It's a lot cheaper to do that. Okay. You don't like, you don't take a sponsorship with a stall. Then you're waiting there and people have to come to you. Okay. It's really difficult. But if you walk around, you can like meet 10 times more people and make that many more connections than just like staying in one place. That's the only two things here. If you can take care of those two things, right, you can really maximize your time at events of this sort.
Amazing, amazing. How was your experience at Bangalore? Namaste NFT.
That was interesting. Okay, that was like, I thought the team pulled off a fantastic event. Uh, we got a lot of people who came and asked like, what is it that we are doing, and there was not a minute that I was free. Okay, every time I finished explaining something, somebody else is standing in the queue. Oh, tell me also, like, so I was like constantly doing that. It was really, really exciting. Okay, and very interesting to meet so many people who are interested in this space. Okay, so
You can
that was a good thing.
just I'm just gonna drop a joke in between. You
Uh,
can have like an IVR for that. So people who are coming in the first in the queue, listen to this. This is the general overview, and then we can talk about your individual questions.
Oh man, that's the thing. No, even though all the information is there, they want to hear it from you. Okay. In fact, I had people, who wanted to sit there and open an account. They wanted to like, okay, I'd like to upload my work now. Can you sit with me? I'm like, listen, can we do it after some time? Like, So there's a lot of excitement. Okay, met a lot of very interesting people. Made a lot of good friends as well. Okay, so I think it was all in all. I'm looking forward to next year. Okay, so I think next year it will be an even bigger event, hopefully. But let's hope they maintain the momentum. Okay, so that's what is
Yeah.
important.
No matter the market, this events, at least they bring out the cherries which are there, who are still going
Yes.
all in this. So, just for a Fandify as well, I'm sure you have done it or you're in the process of doing it.
Hmm.
Make this how-to videos that
Yes.
are very efficient in saying people this and that. So,
Absolutely.
for all those people I met and I transferred that POAP or that NFT that happened at Namaste NFT, I actually made a video that
Okay.
I had promised you and I've delivered this. This is the way you create your MetaMask wallet. You have to send me this address, and this is where you'll see it on OpenSea, and this is how you unhide it. So, like, step by step, guiding them to all the steps, and it's there on YouTube. So this is
Yeah,
for
yeah.
everybody.
No,
So
absolutely, absolutely.
I did the same for my brother also, who has published the book. So if you have bought my brother's book, I'm going to
Yeah,
send you this special NFT that I've made. So definitely for future projects like that, I'm going to use Fandify.
absolutely, yeah, absolutely. I absolutely will look forward to it.
Amazing. One question, offbeat.
Sure.
You're a person with technology background. What are the tools that you use that you
In
would
the
recommend
sense,
everyone?
in what sense?
Productivity tools or any other tools that has changed your life, made it easier.
Actually, it's this. Okay, it's a fountain pen. Okay, and
You still use a fountain pen?
yes, and it's a book. Okay, I'm telling you. So even though I'm in the technology side of things, I use a lot of tools, but the most effective one has been this. Okay, why fountain pen? Well, see, when
That too,
you're
fountain pen.
yeah,
That takes so much manual work and refilling and all that. I've never
exactly.
seen fountain work in such a long time.
So you know why? I'll tell you. It becomes like a, and it's beautiful when you write. Right? It feels good. Okay, it feels like you feels like you're doing something like important. Right? Um,
It's
right.
like an artist with a brush and
Yeah, yeah,
writing.
absolutely. So I don't know, man. I've used many productivity tools, but this thing that has really worked is just a simple pen and like and a journal where you can make like your weekly plan and you have a daily plan, okay, and just the aspect of putting pen on paper and writing that. It's physical. The thing with digital is that digital is distracting. You have to hide it. Okay, it's not in your face. Here, there's a physical object that's in front of you. If I just look at it, right, I know if today I've been productive or not because I can see everything scratched out. I feel good. Today was good. Okay, right? If I use a tool, right, I have no idea. I have to look at some report or something. Okay, it just it sends me some notification. It does some stuff, but then
Makes it more complicated.
complicated, unnecessary complications. Okay, but here it's right there, and I can actually see my entire history. Okay, I have these stacked pages of all the stuff that I've done. It feels good when you sleep through it. You're like, oh shit, this is good,
Yeah, let's go. It's all stracked out. The the books feels lighter now.
man. Yes.
So, Arun, what gets you the most excited about the future?
Well, what gets me most excited about the future is like I would say when I look at my kids and I look at I have twin boys who are like going to turn 13, okay, and I look at all aspects of their life, okay, and I compare it with what I had to go through when I was their age, right? Um, Everything looks positive. Okay, I mean this is might not be a very popular opinion. I think everyone has like a negative opinion about it, okay, in terms of, oh, kids today, they don't play outside, they don't do this, they don't do that, and all of that. Okay, there's so many complaints about this, right? But I I'll tell you where I see the immense, like the positive aspect of it. Okay, the quality of conversations that I can have with my kids, and I remember the quality of conversations that I had when I was their age is like huge difference. Okay, and the reason for that is that at such a young age they're able to absorb like so much, okay, of stuff that it has a very positive way of looking at the future. Okay, I just know for a fact that it's going to be better. Are there any downsides? Absolutely, there are lots of downsides to every aspect. Okay, but the upside to all of this is I think far outweighs it. Okay, and I think looking at it from a future point of view, that's kind of how I would say, like, it's I have a very positive, very positive outlook when it comes to the future. Just because when I look at my kids and I do a comparison, wow, I mean, it's like day and night. Okay, I know for a fact that there'll be a lot better version of me than I am. That's it.
So, twin boys who are all ready for the future, getting to learn so many things from their dad, who is a genius himself. So that's very nice.
I'm
So
hoping to learn from them.
does twins mean a double trouble?
Well, I wouldn't know because I don't know what it means to have just one, right? So I don't know. So sometimes it feels like, well, I think sometimes it's easy, okay, because they have each other and like you can get off, okay, a few things you
Ah,
don't need to.
yeah.
So it
They're
works.
not complaining. They're not
Yes,
complaining bore ho raha hai, or I'm getting
exactly,
bored. They just play with each other. They
absolutely.
always have a friend. They're never alone.
It gets easier.
So that I'm looking forward to meet them when I come to Bangalore next.
Absolutely.
Arun, what is on your bucket list next?
On my bucket list is like immediate.
It's a open-ended question.
Open-ended question. Well, on my bucket list is I recently got into aquascaping. Okay, so I have an aquarium that I need to set up here with like plants and like some exotic, like I'm just like getting into this hobby, right? So I'm really looking forward to it. So the next, few days, I'm going to immerse myself into it. I always do these things
Aqua.
here. I keep getting into new projects. Okay, so I do my own brewing. I brew my own beer as well. So I also do that.
Whoa,
So that's another obsession. So I've got a new case of stout that I need to brew. So that's also on my next bucket list. That's it. My bucket lists are very simple stuff. That's it.
that's very that's very interesting. Fun facts I didn't know about you. Uh, and aquascaping is the new term that I heard. Landscaping and aquascaping, basically setting up an aquarium, right? Having an aquarium
Yeah,
with
but these are
fishes.
different aquariums, okay? When you look at an aquascape aquarium, it looks like a miniature world, okay? It's got like plants, it's got like mountains, it's got like trees. It's just
Oh,
something absolutely, and it's its own ecosystem, okay? So the plants produce like nutrients, the fish eat it, and then it sort of cycles through
seriously?
that. Yeah, yeah. So
Wow.
it's almost like making your own little world, and it's self-contained world.
So you don't have to drop food and all. It just goes on its own.
Sustains by itself. Yes.
You don't even have to change the water. I mean, these are the two things that
Yes.
people with aquariums
Yeah.
have
So
to
you
do.
don't need to change the water. You don't need a heater. All you need is like artificial lighting on top from sunlight point of view. That's it. And then
That
everything is
shuts down.
sustained.
That shuts down and off and on in 12 hours. Like you need
Exactly.
to have like natural power.
Exactly. Exactly. It's a very creative way, an outlet. Okay. It's almost like you're creating nature, like a piece of nature inside, like
Do you have a Fandify backers token to fund that?
I
Fund
know.
your
I'm still a very, very amateur hobbyist. So
once we'll
still
make
a
a
long
bigger
way to
one with
go.
that.
Maybe I'll do something with my brewing. Okay, so who knows? See, at the end of the day, what I try and the way I look at it is like I try every different thing because if this doesn't work out with Fantify, at least I have some other vocations I can take on.
That's very interesting. I see a guitar. Oh, is that a cello or a guitar?
No, no,
Can you please?
that's a guitar which doesn't have a string. So if you're asking me to play something, I
Yo,
can't.
no. Why? It's just a showpiece. Aren't you playing it?
Oh man, no, I'm not like one of those guys who can play very well. Okay, I have a very what do you call uh, what can I say? I'm very very nervous when I play guitar in front of anyone. Okay, so maybe some other time. Definitely not for you. I'd like you to end your podcast on a high note, not on a what do you call on a badly tuned note. No,
You
I
play
wouldn't
play a
recommend it.
high tone on the guitar. But definitely the it not being strung, I mean, you having the string separately saved your day. But definitely looking forward to it. Do join the Saturday space, where
Absolutely.
we encourage, we have so many musicians, not musicians, but artists or collectors or any other people with additional hobby of singing or playing a music instrument, and that was the first time for so many people, and they really enjoyed it, and I enjoyed it. We enjoyed listening to it. So would definitely want to hear you playing that. So
Absolutely.
Saturday 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. Drop in anytime you want,
Great,
and
man. I'll definitely try and drop in during your space for sure. I've always enjoyed your, your spaces, so I'm looking forward to it.
absolutely. It was an amazing conversation today, and so much we got to know. I will drop any specific links that you want me to share with the audience. I will drop it down there along with your Twitter handles. And yeah, it's always amazing, very insightful to talk with you. All the listeners, uh, if you have any question about blockchains or Web3, he puts it very well. Arun puts it very well and explains in very simple terms. We talked about in detail about IPFS last time when he was on the space. Any given topic on Web3, he's the person to go. So do follow him on Twitter, and you can ask him about any questions, and of course get his Fandefi backers token for the aquarium and all the projects he's doing, and the brewery and other projects he's into. So yes, any final words or anything you want to share with us, Arun?
Nothing in particular, Tanmay. I think we are going through a very interesting phase. Okay, and it's like the early days of the internet, I would say. So, despite all the craziness around, the people who are going to stick on, and like this is the time to build. Okay, so really excited for the next couple of years. This is going to be like world changing for sure. Looking forward to it.
Very interesting. I'm also looking forward to it. Web3 has changed my life for the best, and going to be there. We are going to be together in the journey. Thank you once again, Arun.
Thank you.
Thanks for tuning in. Connect with me on Twitter and Instagram to get updates on the new shows and to participate on live recordings. All links are mentioned in the show notes. We will be back next week with another fantastic episode.